Hey guys, it's Nissan. Finally in my basement now. Got all the stuff I needed to make for the Vancouver vlog, whatever I got there, so I started to decide I'm gonna start right now. There's another intro video I made to this with my Vancouver vlog, which is obviously on my channel. You guys can check it out, where I explain why I'm going and etc. Why I wanted to go at the certain time I wanted to go and everything, which I made yesterday. So it's Friday, May 18th, 2018, where I left to Vancouver. And I landed there around nighttime. My car rental place was right at the airport, which made it a lot easier. I was surprised how not packed the airport was, because it was Victoria Day weekend. I was expecting it to be crazy packed, but whatever. It was kind of late at night too. It was like 9 p.m. or something. So I got the car. It was a Chevrolet Cruze, which is actually a pretty cool car. I actually really enjoyed it. I never really drive cars that much. Like, my parents have like SUVs, so driving a car was a nice experience. So, so second I got there, I put my my hotel address on the GPS I had. It was a travel lodge in North Vancouver I booked. Not too far, because I didn't really want to drive that much because it was nighttime and stuff, but close enough. So, literally after like 5 minutes after I started to drive, I actually got a panic attack. I didn't know why, but I knew I got one and I had to pull over. I figured out why later on. So one was that, like, whenever I travel, I always tend to travel with people, like my parents, friends, whoever it may be. So, which is kind of, which was helping me at the time. Or if I'm going somewhere alone, I would always know someone there in that country, or in this case, I was just in another province, but it felt like another country. I would always know someone there, whether it was Sri Lanka or Switzerland, wherever it may be. I knew people. Where in Vancouver, I did not know anyone at all. Due to that, I had a mini panic attack. I had to sit down, take a few deep breaths, and ended up driving right to my hotel. I got there and I was happy to see that there's other people there as well. I just have this creepy thing about going to a hotel where there's no one there at all at nighttime, whatever it is. But I went in, I checked in, this and that, and I was really wanting ice cream so badly. I don't know why. Like, I think I was still panicking a bit and just wanted to cool down. So there was a gas station across the street. Walked to it, got the ice cream, came back, had some snacks, went to bed. It was at nighttime too, so I didn't really see any mountains. When I woke up, I opened the curtains and I saw the mountains for the first time. And I must say, like, I had a really nice view of the mountain though, because in North Vancouver is kind of where the mountain starts. You still get a view if you're in main part Vancouver, obviously, but in the north part of Vancouver, like, you're kind of right there, literally. So I went down and got some coffee, and I was really just enjoying the view for a bit. And then I realized that, like, I didn't come here to relax inside the hotel room, this and that. This was a relaxing trip for me, but not the type others would consider relaxing, just staying in a hotel or going and laying on the beach. I wanted to adventure, really. So I got in the car, I checked out of the hotel, and I left. And I didn't know where I was going, because when I only booked one night there at the travel lodge, and the other 2 nights I wanted to just spontaneously book somewhere else or whatever the case was. So I started to drive up the street, which was Capilano Road or something like that. Which there was also a famous lake there too, which I saw on the maps. Driving, I started to really realize that people in Vancouver love gardening. Like, I saw some of the nicest gardens and nicest flowers ever. Maybe because I was there in the peak of spring, but it was pretty cool. And right when I got to Capilano Lake place, it was like this lake, man-made lake, which had like a little, I'm pretty sure it's not a house, but something in the middle, and with mountains in the back. And seeing this all for the first time, the mountains, the Rockies, I was extremely shocked. Like, I was like, wow, like, people are right. This is like Switzerland, you know? And I was alone too, which was kind of cool. So after that, I discovered that place for a bit, went hiking, and I ended up driving a bit more up. And pretty much the road ended, and it was a cable car area where you go to Grouse Mountain, which is a mountain nearby. And I went and checked to see how much it was. I mean, I was on a budget during this trip. I wasn't really trying to spend the budget on the first day there, but I wasn't surprised it was expensive. So I told myself, I'm like, hey, I have a lot more to explore. Like, I didn't even get to see Vancouver yet. So I said, you know what? I just hiked around there for a bit and I left. I left to go to Vancouver, actually, like the city part, because like I didn't get to explore it. And like North Vancouver, it's kind of like they're considered like another place or something. And while I was going to North Vancouver, though, or while I was going to Vancouver, I stopped by a gift shop where I grabbed a few stuff. The Vancouver Magnet. You can kind of see the mountain in the back. One of them has to be Grouse Mountain, I'd say, and obviously the postcard. Like, I I didn't really start to collect postcards and magnets till 2016, I'd say, when I went to Swiss and I was like, hey, I'm traveling to a few places. Like, it's nice to have a memory, you know? And every time I go to the fridge or something and I look at these magnets, I just kind of remember the trip. And it was kind of, I thought it was cool, something I wanted to continue for the rest of my life, I guess. So, while driving to Vancouver, I noticed the Lionsgate Bridge, which I searched up on Google Maps before I went, and I really got to see it this time, which is a very cool bridge that goes from North Vancouver to main part of Vancouver, where their Stanley Park is also there. Stanley Park is actually bigger than Central Park, and it's a pretty cool place, honestly. Like, and they have a garden and stuff there too. And again, spring season, like I was just shocked by how cool it is and how organized they really have it. I remember I parked my car there, went on a little hike again, and the trees there like were massive. Like I don't even like they were just like I mean I've seen big trees before like in Switzerland and some parts of Ontario, but these trees were like huge, and they had like moss growing all around them, and it was just such a cool sight that I didn't really get to see ever before, and really enjoyed it. Took a few pictures. I'll explain later on why I don't have any of the pictures anymore. You guys can follow me on Instagram. I'll leave it down on the description. I did take some pictures posted on Instagram, but majority of my pictures went away, which I'll explain in part 3, I guess. So after that, I was in Stanley Park for a bit. I got kind of hungry. I went to grocery store, grabbed some food, and I wanted to go by a beach because I knew that like Vancouver had a lot of beaches, this and that, and I heard they had a lot of boardwalks as well. So I was really interested into that. So I realized where the beach was, did some searching on my phone and stuff, and I drove to a near beach area. Like the one part is that like all the parkings were you had to pay. Like I couldn't really find free parking. Maybe because I didn't search well enough, I guess, but I really didn't mind paying for the parking because even in Toronto, like you have to pay for the parking. So Vancouver being the city area, like I kind of understood. So that part wasn't really that shocked. So I went and stopped by a beach area. It was called Kitsilano Beach. It's like Kitsilano is also like an area. I think that's how you pronounce it. And the beach part was really cool. And one of the coolest parts that I realized about the beach is that they had palm trees. I wouldn't really, they weren't like the coconut palm trees, but they were still a type of palm tree. I've seen them in Switzerland too before, but I was just shocked to see it here because I'm like, I thought it gets cold here and like these trees won't even survive. I mean, Switzerland doesn't get that cold, but again, another link to how Switzerland was kind of like this place, and with my previous vlog, what I said about the Swiss hikers or whatever, you guys can check that vlog out. But and there was like a basketball court too right by the beach. So I took the board, I went boarding for a bit. I realized like the beach there was so different. Like it had a lot of volleyball nets, a lot of logs also by the beach side and the shore side, and people were just extremely nice. Like walking around in Toronto, like people don't really say hi to you or whatnot, like, or at least I have not experienced that. But when I was there in Vancouver, like people were actually nodding at me, saying hi to me. I don't know if it was just because I just had a smile because I'm like discovering the place for the first time, but I noticed that in Switzerland as well. Maybe it has to do with the mountains or the more nature, I guess, but it was kind of cool. And I noticed this awesome basketball court and some guys playing basketball. So I went and I just asked them like if I could join a game or something, because I wanted to kind of ask few people about the place and what's cool to see, this and that. I kind of enjoy talking to people to figure this out rather than just going on the internet and relying on that. So played basketball for a bit. Asked these guys about where else I could stay that's like not too far, but has nice views and stuff. And they told me about this place called Squamish. So when I was searching on Google Maps before, I saw Squamish. Like I knew about Whistler because like it's really known for snowboarding, this and that. It's a cool spot. So Squamish was kind of like in the middle, I'd say, but it didn't really look like a big place. Like, so when I saw it on the Google Maps, I just kind of passed by it and kept going on. But these guys are telling me that Squamish was a cool place. Like I was telling them I love nature. They're like, if you really love nature, it's a spot you should see. And the highway there going there is apparently the craziest. It's called the Sea to Sky Highway, and I mean it kind of explains itself, I'd say, because it's the sea goes to the sky as in the mountains. So I thought, I was just like, okay guys, that sounds pretty cool, I guess I'll check it out. These guys are around my age too, so I knew like they looked kind of like they were into nature and stuff too, so I guess they knew what they're talking about, and they live in Vancouver. So I was just like, all right, I'll take your word on that. Going back, I stopped again at Stanley Park and I parked my car and I kind of walked on a bit on the Lionsgate Bridge. The Lionsgate Bridge it's actually a pretty long bridge. I wouldn't say it's as long as Golden Gate Bridge though, but it's still pretty long. So I didn't really walk the entire thing. I just kind of walked around halfway or so, but the view was just amazing. And also, while I was talking to these guys, I was saying how the Rocky Mountains is so beautiful. And they said that while looking at the mountains across from the English Bay, and they were just telling me how these are not even the Rocky Mountains. So this entire time I thought I was in the Rocky Mountains, etc., where I was not even looking at the Rocky Mountains. So these mountains that I was looking at are called the Coastal Mountains, the Coastal Mountain Range, which is totally a different mountain range that a lot of people don't talk about, I guess, which goes on the coast, obviously. But when I did more research later on, I ended up finding out that it's a totally different mountain range, and even the mountains look different. They're not as rocky as the Rocky Mountains. They're more like pine trees and kind of a different type of mountain range, which is kind of cool. It's something I didn't know about. So I took the car and I'm driving on, it's basically called Highway 99, the Sea to Sky Highway, and I'm driving to Squamish now. And I called a place there called Jack August Motor Inn, which seemed like a cool place and seemed like a relatively okay price for me. Called them, asked them if they had any available rooms or stuff. The guy's like, yeah, he has a lot. So I was just like, awesome, and I started my drive. And I must say, that was the Sea to Sky Highway was one of the craziest drives I've ever been on in my life. Like, okay, not in my life, the craziest drive I've driven on. I mean, people have driven me in cool spots in Switzerland, but the Sea to Sky Highway, driving it alone by myself, and that's when I heard the song from Foster the People, Sit Next to Me, and I was just bumping that because I had a lot of data on my phone, and just driving on that highway alone was honestly a crazy experience. So, alright guys, this is just part 2. Tomorrow I'm going to get more into part 3, explaining what happened in Squamish and where I went from there. Really, I could have put it all into one video, but it's going to be a longer story and I don't want to really bore you guys. You guys can type down in the comments for later stories if you would want it all in one video or different parts. But for now, I'm just going to do parts because just don't want to bore you guys. Alright guys, have a good one though. Peace out, and I'll put up part 3 tomorrow.